United Healthcare, that stock,
Okay.
cut in half this year.
Yes.
It had been a darling of, essentially a big roll up in the healthcare space, right?
Yes.
Buying all these hospitals and all these different healthcare providers, and most of the revenue coming from government controls medicine. Let's face it.
Yes, and their diagnosis is. I mean, there's scandal all the way around that company now.
Alleged scandal.
Okay.
I mean, it certainly appears that. So the stock essentially has been cut in half. CEO is out. And I saw some article from the employees and how their stock's down, their 401k is down. And as I'm reading this, I thought, there are people whose their lives have been changed as a result of the decline in that stock this year. Their financial futures have been changed. Their retirement plans have been put on hold. Their kids' educations have been changed because they were overweighted in that one particular stock.
Okay.
And the only reason they were, by and large, was because they worked there.
That was them.
But we see it. There's other people who
Scott, I got to tell you, this might sound heartless, which when someone says that, get ready, it will be 100% heartless. Every time I read an article about, what happened to these poor people because their company that they went, look, it was, they have control over most of that.
You mean it's kind of like when somebody gets stuck in the mountains in a snowstorm and without any food and water, and they were shocked that this happened.
Yeah, and
you're going in the mountains. There's a storm warning that says to stay home.
Yeah, and even look, you and I own a small company. We brought liquidity to our own financial situation by bringing in a third-party investor. That was, and people say, well, because you were really just wanting to try to grow the company. No. That would have been nice, and it happened, but the main objective was to diversify away.
But the issue, Pat, we see every day, our advisors see it every day, someone works for an employer whose stock has done well, and the majority of their worth is tied up in that individual company.
And
so
hard
when I
to do.
see stuff like one of the, I don't know what number, United Healthcare is one of the top 10 or 20 companies in the U.S. I don't know.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a massive company, and you see something like that get, so quickly.
It happens fast. Well, let's. What was the oil company in? I mean, we could go through a list of these.
Yeah, a list of them. Speaking of the oil company, we're in California. I was in a little side note. I was in Hawaii last week on vacation with my family. It was great. All 4 kids were there. My oldest is 29. My son's 27. They were there. My son's girlfriend, my younger girls. We were all together. And we survived the week.
No fighting?
Well, there's a little. Of course, there's siblings and stuff.
Well,
and parents get frustrated. Of course, there was some argument.
Yes.
It's part of life. But gas in Hawaii was less expensive than gas in California.
No.
I swear to you. I look at this like, how is it that
That's amazing.
an island that has to import all of their gasoline is less expensive than California, which used to be a big oil producer?
That's amazing.
And 2 more refineries are leaving.
Yes.
I just was baffled by it. But the reason I brought that up, the 2 reasons. I was in...
To show off that you were in Hawaii.
Of course.
Number one.
I figured you were going to ask about the tan. I kept waiting for her. Man, Scott, how did she get so tan? You look so tan and rested, but it never came. It's interesting when I take Uber. I used to be cabs. Now it's essentially Uber drivers. And I always enjoy talking when I'm out of town, kind of just getting their perspective on their life and what's going on. And so this Uber driver, and I like...
So now would you get into whammo and actually... without a driver and ask to speak to an AI agent?
I'm afraid I'll get torched.
Well, that was kind of a different story.
So I'm talking to this Uber driver. He'd lived in Hawaii his whole life. He's probably 50 years old or so, and this kind of beat up Uber he was driving me around in. And he was telling me, he says, I can tell that tourism is down from because of the turmoil in the markets. And we're talking about it. And he says, my experience has been it's the high-end hotels do fine regardless.
Okay.
He says, like, if you go to the high-end hotels right now, they're probably completely booked up. They're crowded because those people, the fluctuation in the markets don't have as big of impact. But he says when you take kind of the lower-priced condos, those are the ones that take the biggest hit. And he says he's really noticed a difference in the number of people in some of these lower-priced condos just because
that's their indicator. That's his indicator. His market
that's
indicator.
his indicator.
Market indicator.
So we're
Well, it makes
changing our
sense.
investment thesis based upon this.
Uber drivers. So where are you going with this?
It got me thinking. I was in Hawaii probably 20 years ago, and I read a book at that time. I forget the title of the book, but it was essentially about how the top 10% continue to get wealthier while the middle has stagnant or declined.
Yes.
I read this 20 years ago.
And it's true today.
It's maybe more so today.
And AI is going to propel this.
It already has. I mean, look at the billionaires minted over.
Understand, Scott, but here's, so I was looking at finish your story.
I think I finished my story.
Okay. I was looking at the price to earnings on the S&P 500.
It's like 21.
It's relatively high on a historical basis.
Yes.
And I was thinking, what's justifying this price to earnings? Because there's something that the investor is saying, I'm okay with this price to earnings. That's what the investor says. For the risk here, the alternatives are not better elsewhere. That's how the markets work. And I was having a conversation with my brother who was the CEO of a technology company, but he's still pretty involved with them. And he said the AI leaps and bounds that they are doing with their technology. And I look at our own company, and then I talk to other people that are running companies, and I think this is, as a societal issue, this AI is very disturbing. It is going to displace many, many middle-income workers and even management. But it's going to be great for the stock market.
Okay. And it's going to be great for a lot of individuals, just not all.
That's right. That's right. It will create a major displacement.
And I'm not one of those that believe we're going to see 20% unemployment. There might be some short-term disruptions.
That's right.
Every new technology, it's always had some disruption, but there's always been new jobs created. I think we'll probably see the same thing. We might go through a bit of a hiccup along the way. But I totally agree with you.
But I think that the price to earnings ratio is being supported by
I totally agree with
the economics that are coming.
I totally agree with you. I'm a late adopter when it comes to technology, personally.
Yeah.
Not as a but personally, I'm always a late adopter. I never had a BlackBerry. I just kind of waited. I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'm a bit of a late adopter. But I look at, I just look at some of the applications, even that we're using here internally at Allworth, and you can look down the road and say how much more efficient. We have 500 employees or 600 somewhere in there. How much more efficient we can become. How much growth we can have without adding any back office people.
That's right.
And even our advisors, how much more you think about technology today and how much more effective and efficient an advisor is today versus even 5 years ago. And then you look 5 years out, I'm just looking at our own little industry.
And that's why actually I think that this normally at a price to earnings ratio this high, I would be a little bit nervous. I would say
I'm always a little bit nervous.
All right. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm always a little bit nervous.
That's fair.
I can't say I love it. Look, I don't like this volatility in the markets any more than the next person.
Well, but that's the risk premium. So
that's just what it is.